study has it that 50% of women professionals feel slowed down in their careers due to self-limiting beliefs and imposter syndrome. A survey by India Leaders for Social Sector, ILSF, found that more than half of women with 8 to 15 years of professional experience reported being held back by their own self-limiting biases. These beliefs often stem from social and cultural conditioning and contribute to women being underrepresented in senior leadership roles, with many remaining in program-specific or care-related positions rather than strategic organizational leadership roles. The same survey also highlighted that 50% of women leaders experience imposter syndrome, which limits their leadership vision and contributes to the leaky pipeline phenomenon, where women are disproportionately absent from senior management roles despite strong representation at entry and mid-levels. So the question to consider today on our podcast is, why do we as women hold back when there's so much more we can do to move up in our careers? So join me as we discuss real life experiences that will help you see how you are held back in your career and learn what not to do. And I would just also want to add that this experience is something that is very enlightening, because we're going to be talking to someone who's gone through this phase herself, and sharing our knowledge and best practice obviously would be very instrumental and helpful for us today on our podcast. So don't go away. Stay tuned. Welcome to the Help We Need podcast, where we explore topics that empower women and support their well-being. I'm your host, Fumike Moronkeji, and today we have a very special guest, Dr. Vallipriya Balijepalli. Dr. Priya is a sustainability and business development professional who's joining us today to help dissect this topic, challenging internal bias in women, a bit more. Dr. Priya has over 15 years of global experience driving pre-sales, environmental, governance, and sustainability strategy, as well as digital solutions within the technology industry. So, Priya, that was quite a lot in terms of explaining your industry and the role you play, but I'm so delighted to have you join us today to discuss this deep and thought-provoking topic that lends, a voice to why we as women often take the back seat when it comes to our career. So I'm looking forward to the knowledge sharing we'll be having today on our podcast, and how your experience has helped you navigate the workspace, especially as a senior leader in a male-dominated industry. So Priya, welcome.
Hello, Fumike. It's so good to be on your show. So, like I said, it's my first podcast, and I'm super thrilled, containing my butterflies in a box, but and also humbled that you gave me the opportunity to share some of my experiences. So, let's jump in right away.
Absolutely. And I'm also very excited as well to have you join us. And you know what? Can't wait to get started. So maybe before we kind of kick off into the questions around your experience and your industry, can we get to know you a bit more? So who's Priya? What makes Priya kick? Just tell us a bit more about yourself.
Yeah, that's a mystery in unfolding, of course. But like I said, from a very career angle, I'm being a sustainability and a business development professional. Been in the industry for over 15 years, dabbled around different platforms, from academics to a nonprofit to corporate. Mostly it's been with corporate. Um, but I'll tell you what, my life, my career has been quite handcrafted, literally, with the opportunities and challenges that life's been throwing at me. Um, to begin with, it all started with my very deep enthusiasm and curiosity towards environmental conservation right from my school days, right? So I followed it through, and I did my master's in ecology and environmental sciences here in India. Found a great opportunity to pursue my doctorate and PhD in urban water management in Germany. And that's been a phase of amazing learning. That's what got me to um, build or pick my curiosity towards technology and systems learning and data and information, inferences. So that was a combination that I was so thrilled. Sustainability, data, technology, yeah. And with that as a goodie bag, I jumped into the corporate world. I came back to India, started with a social enterprise, and my journey to understand people, mindset, biases began, right? And and the learnings continue. The learnings continue. And as I built my career along, I've learned the equations related to people, behavior, mindset. I've realized how sustainability is a space which is so driven by mindset, right? Um, and that's the real change. That's where my conviction got stronger. Where the real change happened at the intersection of science and systems and human behavior. And that's a space I continue to build in.
Wow, it's amazing. So from India to Germany and then back to India. So um, that's a very lovely journey, very techy journey. But thank you so much for sharing with us. So let's jump into some of the questions that I have for you today. So you have a unique role, right? And you work in the technology sector, which is mostly dominated by men. And I'm wondering, how do you make this work?
Um, well, mostly the inspiration for me to be in this space, you know, uh, kind of started at home ground. I grew up watching my father and his colleagues work in the environmental conservation space, and I was driven at the enormous scope of impact that the space carries. Right, it's beyond you. It's beyond your close circle. It's so the fact that I could make a difference to the world around me, and maybe to the world at large, has always been my driving factor, right? Um, and at the same time, like I said, I was always intrigued with how people perceive it, right? Whether it's a simple task of waste management or the larger concept of climate change. I've been seeing, and I continue to watch closely how people are approaching it with open-mindedness. At the same time, they're dealing with a lot of barriers internally and also externally. So I juggle these two curious spaces. I The
Mhm.
blend of purpose and challenge is what drives me, and most importantly, what I would love to see, the transformation that people and environment uh, bring in, and the role of technology in it. So that's what gets me to drive all along.
That's helpful. I see your dad has had a lot of influence, I would imagine, in
He
your
did.
life. And I like the way you kind of crafted it at the end. You said, there's a blend of purpose and challenges as well as just trying to be curious about people and the environment. So that's really that's interesting. And I'm wondering, because you keep on talking about sustainability might be helpful for you to sort of maybe help us unpack this a bit so that our women on the podcast kind of understand what you mean when you talk about sustainability. So my question would be around what has inspired you to pursue your career in sustainability? I mean, what is sustainability? What is this? It's a big word, right? And it's also a
Yeah,
buzzword going on today. So
yeah.
just to give us flavor in terms of what it is, and why are you so inspired to just work within this sector?
Um, this is my favorite question. Because it really challenges me to bring down the entire scientific jargon to something as simple as, just tell me what's your name, kind of a way, right? It's a very so here I'll do my best at explaining what sustainability is. Um, but before that, going back to the story, what got me there was um, I remember my father, this is way back in the 90s, not very far, just a couple of, maybe a decade ago or 2 decades ago. My father used to carry out these education programs with different schools and colleges, and he used to carry these negatives, the slides, just a small picture negatives, and they would be a projector, right? And you would put the slides in an order, and you would show them the wildlife, you would show them what landfill and garbages dumps look like, or you would show them how the lakes die, etc. And that's when I've seen my father do a storyboard with the help of pictures. He would arrange photographs in a manner that he would build a storyboard. So that was my first ABC of presenting a story with the pictures. And that really excited me. I was like, oh my God, you can show pictures and tell a different story, right? Um, and when I was visit, and I would tag along because I would love to hear what he would interpret from a different story. And all I would see is pictures of garbage dumps, or garbage getting burned somewhere, or the lakes getting dried, or the success story of how he and his colleagues revived a lake, and so on, right? And there was this question of and every time there was a project of, let's say, a reviving a lake, or in a rural area for agriculture practice, um, there was so much of information, cultural information, that he would gather from the villages, right, from the farmers, from the different professions out there, and the collective knowledge that he would bring, and reviving that lake was just beautiful, right? Um, so more than the doomsday story of, oh, we are filling our oceans with garbage, oh, we are filling our earth with the landfills and the plastics everywhere, what inspired me is what the scope of how much we can make our spaces more beautiful, right? How
Wow.
was the Yeah, how much we can revive what could be dying, and the togetherness, the entire community coming together, the knowledge that we gather around ourselves and our environment together. So the scope of building a better place, the scope, or the opportunity that we can be better than who we are, we can also inspire our community to be better than who they are or what it is, and the environment, right? So that's what inspired me to into that entire gamut of sustainability. Now, for simpler terms, sustainability for me, well, they're always textbook stories, right? Sustainability is all about using the resources without compromising the opportunity of the future. Sustainability for me is what what how less the damage that you can do to the environment today, right? What is the footprint that you're leaving behind? not just for yourself or your immediate future, but for the generation to come. Um, Concepts wise, it's all about environmental conservation. It is all about how do you create resilience against the climate change. Of course, there are non-believers of climate change still exist on this earth, but it's for real. So, sustainability, environmental conservation, for me, is a culmination of, again, people, knowledge, and systems coming together. Right, the environment being at the center stage of it.
Absolutely. And, just as you're speaking, it just reminds me that, we need it in every space that we are as women, to thrive. It's not just, well, I understand it's quite scientific. Obviously, we're familiar with climate changes, we're familiar with plastics and what have you. But just taking a step back now, how do we leave the world in a better place for the next generation? How do we as women evolve, in whatever spaces we find ourselves? How do we sustain what we have in hand? So it's very helpful to see your perspective from a scientific lens, but also to integrate that into our day-to-day normal lives. And that kind of, moves me towards the next question in terms of your career. And just wondering if you can share with us a pivotal moment in your career that you help to move things forward, because these days there's so much challenges even in the workspace, and that's
Yeah.
why we're having the conversation today, well, around our careers as women and what we can do to turn things around for good, to step out of those dark spaces that maybe we've been confined to, and to
Yeah.
just do the best we can with what we. So in your own world, right?
Yeah.
And within your industry and your sector, knowing that, while it's a small world, you kind of face your own challenges. How have you moved forward? How have you advanced? If you could share with us, that would really be helpful to just see that from your lens.
Um, Before I answer your questions, Mikay, so you made a. I would just like to acknowledge the point you mentioned, the close connect of women with the environment part, right? And um, this is an acknowledgement not just from award-winning women sustainability professionals across the world, but even the women who are on the grassroots, like in the villages. They have been traditionally environmental stewards, right? They have been traditional environmental conservationists. Women have always been in the forefront of making a better place, always. Whether it's starting with keeping your houses clean, or giving the best organic or natural food available for your families, or imparting the knowledge to be a better person. Women and sustainability, women and environment are synonymous. They've been in the forefront. It's just that they've been super humble about their role in this space, right? But thank you for bringing that point out. And you're right, they have a very, very strong role to play. I mean, speaking from my sector, now I see a lot of women in the sustainability space. Back in the day when I was just starting, I remember seeing myself as one or two. I was one or part of few, rather say handful of women in a conference hall, raising hands, asking questions to the whole panel of men sitting on the dais, um, sharing their 2 cents on how the world can be a better place, or men telling how the water systems need to work, when it's actually the women who carry the buckets and of water from a distant place to their homes, right? So when I realized that there's so much scope for women in this space, because they are the ones who are operating the systems on the ground. They are the one who understands how things work, what works, what doesn't. Um, yeah, and I think that it's very important that we as women own this power that we have of making things work on ground and move it forward, whether and especially very specifically in the career space, in the industry space. We own our strength, we own our toughest challenges, we own that situation and move forward. One of, for me, the most pivotal incident was, I remember I was at the last phase of my PhD, and we were just, and the world just decided to go into recession at that point, right? 2008 was just coming in, and the first thing, the minute there is a slight tremor in the market, like itsy bitsy tremor of economic tremors in the market. The first thing the world, the economic sector, the governments decide is to stop the funding to sustainability space, right? And which is such a contradiction, which is such a irony. Um, so it so happened that my PhD funding also got affected at that point, and I was given like lady, you have like 3 months to wrap up your PhD, or 6 months at the most. And I'm like, with nothing coming in, like, what do you want me to do? So that was work under pressure. I'm like, okay, I have a whole lot of data. I have the first draft coming in on my desk, and it doesn't look good. My guy doesn't sound very happy with what come out of it. Have like a whole lot of pages to kind of skim through, make it sharper and better. Um, and I remember I was in parallel also going through a personal challenge at home. So I was away from home, and I also had a personal challenge at a relationship friend. So it so happened that I was at the moment. Um, I was seeing the world around me to like kind of drop, you know, itsy bitsy bombs around me saying, okay, your world is falling apart. You need to rebuild yourself. And so the last straw was drawn when they said they're cutting off my funding for the PhD. And I was like, okay, this doesn't sound good. I need a quiet moment. And I remember just walking down into the woods and sitting there and say, okay, no money. Okay, maybe little money. Uh, Personal life is in going through shambles. I can't attend to it right now. I can't go back home. I can't cry my eyeballs out. Um, I might have to go on a diet, considering that I might not spend much on the food. So, what am I going to do? So, a quiet moment with myself, you know, and my spiritual guide and angels around. And I said, okay, you can only swim back up. So, what do I have? I have my PhD. Let's start with that. And what I also had was amazing set of friends, my support system away from home, but I had amazing colleagues, amazing supervisor, amazing set of friends. Uh, the most dearest of all, like out there in Germany, if they're listening to me, if they're watching, like I wouldn't have gone through that phase if it wasn't for them. So that was a pivotal moment. I did it. I on Feb 4th, 2009, I published. I had my viva for my PhD, and I was awarded my PhD. And I came back home to my flat with my flatmate. I partied hard, and a week later, I cried. And I never thought I would finish my PhD ever. I never thought. I thought this was another phase where um, I was just closing the book for good. Um, but something told me that I can move past it. I can. It's that is just said you can do it. It's okay. You can do it. So that's been the most important and pivotal phase or moment in my life. Said,
Mm.
yeah, this is where the turning point was. It's like the next chapter. It was not a next chapter. It was the next um, series altogether. Game of Thrones season 2. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's very interesting. And, it just brings to mind that every time we have challenges as women, I mean, everybody really, not necessarily women, but mostly women, we we tend to feel like our whole world has collapsed. And rightly speaking, the resources or the funding was cut, and you were like, how in the world am I going to finish the PhD? I'm in a foreign country. Who's going to rally around? Who's going to support me? And I like the word you used around your friends, right? You did have a community of people that were willing to help you in one shape, form, or the other. And it just goes to show that as women, we're resourceful, we're resilient. And I see that come
Absolutely.
out a lot from what you've shared in terms of just leveraging the resources at hand to maybe do the best you can with what you had. And you still came
Yes.
out uh, outstanding. So that's really helpful to note, and that's helpful to see. Just wondering, what were the key learnings that came out from that experience? If you could just quickly summarize for us, like.
First of all, when you are in the midst of this kind of chaos, you're never alone. It might look like you're standing there alone to carry the burden. You're not alone, right? The help is just around the corner. All you need to do is to yell help, right? That's the first and the most important learning. It doesn't hurt to ask for help. It
Mm,
doesn't, and it's that was the most important lesson. Second, you know that 80% of the doomsday thoughts that we get in our mind never happen, or 80, 82, 85. I've read it somewhere, so it's true. I can vouch from my experience, right? So every time you think, oh my god, my world's falling apart, it's okay. Let the drama play in your head, then take a breath. You just have to walk towards it. So um don't go by the perfection all the time. I think the most perfect thing sometimes is to just finish the task that's on your hand, right? It could be gibberish, it could be a handwritten note, it could be something that you could just muster up to the best of your knowledge at that point. But the big thing is you finish the task.
mm,
So don't beat yourself uh, how better it can be, how perfect it can be. Acknowledge that you've done, acknowledge the context you were in, right? Acknowledge that this is the best that you could have done. Acknowledge, give yourself a pat on the back that considering the situation, you were able to complete the task and move forward, right? So the three most important lessons that would always stick with me from that amazing event in my life.
wonderful. So ask for help, take a moment to go through the emotions, but don't stay in it. And look at it from a progress perspective instead of perfection. Because if
Yes,
we tend to look at things from a perfection perspective, we would never get it done. So I hope our women are
absolutely.
picking on nuggets of wisdom. I am personally progress, not perfection. So you said something that I think sparked my curiosity. You said 80% of the doom thought that plays in our mind never really happens. And I would like to link that to self-doubt, right? Or these days
Yeah.
it's called imposter syndrome. I'm just wondering, how have you been able to, maybe just a specific example in your work life, where you've experienced this self-doubt or imposter syndrome, as we call it these days, and how have you been able to navigate it? Because to be honest, this is really the showstopper these days for us as women in terms of advancing in our careers. It's just, I cannot do this. Am I good enough? Will I make it? Am I smart enough? It's just so suffocating. So I just want to maybe get from you real hand or first hand experience, like how have you been able to, I mean, you're in a senior role and I can imagine there were steps, there were phases. How have you been able to evolve or just constantly help yourself through this self-doubt experience that keeps on happening, at least in my experience, some of the time, if not most of the time? Have you been able to overcome it?
That's an interesting chord that you touched upon, Phil. Okay, I'm battling every single day the self-doubt, or uh, I think imposter syndrome is the next level, of course. And to be very honest, I think there are a lot of variables that play around here, right? Culturally, um, uh, society that or the community you've been part of, the cultural influences that happen, and of course your own personal growth or journeys all along, right? They 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 all play their bit in either strengthening your self doubt, or strengthening your belief that you're an imposter. And for me, I it's been a very familiar battle, right? Because so I come from a little bit of the cultural background is, um, I always grew up believing, or being told rather, that you need to earn your place, you need to earn your position, you need to earn your respect, and you need to let your work speak for itself, right? And when you have these beliefs playing in your head all the time, um, it's you're constantly waiting for some validation to come to you, for somebody to recognize the work that you're doing, for somebody to award you the promotion or the role that you've been aspiring for, right? um and that is the root cause. That's the premise of the self-doubt, that you're like, why isn't it happening? And when you start questioning your beliefs, right, you're saying, hey, but I was told that you should be never asking for a promotion. You should be never asking for a raise. You should be never asking. And when you do, your imposter syndrome gets stronger, because you're like, I asked for something. No, I should be letting this constant battle of good versus evil, for belief to non-believer, and it only strengthens the chaos in your head, right? So for me, the change happened. I remember at an hearing, Sri Ravashankar telling a group of attendees, saying, "Always, you never doubt what is bad, but you always doubt what is good and right." Isn't so? So if you just think
That's so true.
about, right? And so every time I have a self doubt saying, oh my God, I'm going to be a huge failure here. Oh, they're getting to know I'm a fake. Oh my God, I'm an actor on stage. Um, I just remind myself that you doubt what's good. So you're good, right? So keep telling, you doubt what's good, but you're good. So that's like plays in my head all the time. You doubt what's good, and you're good. So you're like, oh, I'm good. Okay, let me go next. Let me do the next step. Let me go the next step. So it's a habit that you need to inculcate in yourself. It's it's a constant battle that you need to have with yourself, saying, yes, of course, I have this doubt, but I'm sure there is goodness in it. Let me see what can happen next, right? Um, and this again happened as a very interesting event. One of the in one of my stints, corporate world, my manager, he mentioned that he was planning to consider one of my colleagues. We're all peers, one of my peers, for a senior role, and he just wanted to know if I was okay with it, and I was like, okay. I didn't question. I didn't question as to what would be the, and why him and why not me, or no, I just said, oh yeah, of course, I'm sure you're taking this decision with the best of your knowledge, and go ahead. And besides, that's not where I want to be, right? I I beat myself up coming back home. It's like, why didn't I give my voice to it, saying that, okay, why, what is it that you're seeing in him, that, or what are the attributes you're looking for? um what would it take for me to be considered? It's not whether I would be getting the role or not, but I was not happy that I didn't voice out my concern. I didn't let my inner voice come out, you know and I think most of the time we women battle, not the promotions we lost, not the roles that we lost, but I think the regret that we deal with day in and day out is that we don't let our voices come out.
Mm.
We don't allow ourselves to speak for ourselves, and that's what happened to me. And that's been a biggest lesson. That's been a very big lesson that said, yes, I'm going to give a better platform for my inner voice. I'm going to share it, of course, politely.
Mm.
I'm going to use logic to put it across and not be driven by my emotions, for sure. But I will allow my voice uh, to be out there.
Yeah, and I like how you introduced when we started off on the conversation around how you tackle self-doubt. You first of all stepped back and talked about the cultural indices,
Yeah,
how we and these things are similar. I mean, back home as well. I was told, you keep a straight head in class, put your head in the works, your works will speak for itself. So they're very similar things that I
yeah,
also, and you come believing that somebody will notice me, somebody will see me. And I think most times this is where we're looking for someone to validate us. When it's almost like this is a dog eat dog walk, where the
absolutely.
survival of the fittest. You need to take it if you want it. You need to. There's a scripture, in the Bible that says the kingdom of God suffereth violence. The violent take it by. You need to take it, because if you don't advocate for yourself, nobody's going to advocate for you. And I know it comes with a lot of learnings and performance and understanding, and we've been fit for the role. But I think most times, even when we're 99.8, we still have that restriction of ourselves and just put that label to say, it needs to be perfect. But why? Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect. And I know
Exactly.
some of our male parts, that's the edge that they have over us. While we're struggling with the point zero, they probably are not even near the 90, and they just go for it. So
So
just
true. So true.
learning from their tenacity, learning from their ability to take risk. I mean, I think that's the word. We are risk averse. We tend to
Yeah.
step back. I mean, not us, but at least I think most of us. I mean, if I could speak for myself, and we tend to see things like, oh, I dare not. Oh, what would happen if I fall flat on my face, and things like that. And I think over time, for some of us that are lucky, and we see when you're being stepped over again and again, and you be like, if I continue this way, I'm not going to move forward. I just have to
E-
be
e-
bold to make
exactly.
that decision.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Um, like I said, yes, there is it's a competitive world out there. You're not just competing with the men, you're competing with women, you're competing with younger men and women, you're competing with the older generations already sitting on top. Yes, it's a absolute traffic jam out there sometimes, right? And it is important sometimes to honk. It is important to sometimes speak up, but it's whether, I remember the sentence that said, ask and it shall be given. Whether it shall be given or not, let's ask first and see. And I think most of the time we hold ourselves saying, oh, it's embarrassing to ask. It's okay. We'll wait for them to come to us. I think those we don't have the privilege of lesser population or lesser competition in the markets anymore. We we're growing, and our species is growing at a very we're competing with the rabbits of the world. So no, we need to we need to speak up. We need to put our head out of the water. So absolutely.
Otherwise, we're going to wait a long time. It's been such a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much, Priya, for your time.
It's been a pleasure conversing with you as well, Fumike. I enjoyed our conversation, and thank you for putting me at ease throughout. I appreciate it.
Thank you too. Thank you too. Pleasure is reciprocal. Just amazing. Thank you. Okay, so dear listeners, thank you for your time today. Thank you for joining us on this crucial topic of challenging the internal bias that we have as women. And I hope you've enjoyed our conversation on our podcast today. I hope it's inspired you in some way or the other to not play small, to understand that you can use even the biases around you to your advantage. Please remember that your journey, your voice, and your dreams, they matter. Don't keep it to yourself. In a world that may sometimes underestimate us, let's let our resilience and brilliance, let's allow it to shine through, to even shine brighter. We can make a difference. So I think that on the last note, I would advise that we embrace the challenges as opposed to running away from them, because the challenges help us to grow as women. Let's seek support from those who would guide us, who would uplift us, who would steer us in the right direction. And let's also continue to enhance ourselves through learning and self-discovery. And one of the things I've learned today is that every challenge we face is an opportunity to rise stronger, and we should learn to celebrate our victories. You've said it. Take a cue about what you've done, and in those moments where you're doubting yourself, go back to those times that you've done so well. Give yourself a pat on the back, no matter how small. Let's learn as women to celebrate our victories and others' victories. And let's continue to pave the way for women who will follow in our footsteps. So together, we can create a future where women are not just participants, but we're leaders, we're innovators, and we are change makers. So let's keep pushing boundaries. Please keep believing in your what. And most importantly, keep inspiring, because the world needs our light, and it is a better place because of us who are women. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share with your family, your friends, encouraging them to subscribe to our channel as well. Keep listening to the Help We Need podcast. Stay tuned in for more episodes on living your best lives. And until next time, stay empowered and remember to empower her.